Military-connected students face special challenges, which include potentially changing schools 4 to 12 times, moving to different communities, adapting to different school environments, different school curriculum, making new friends, and coping with a parent's deployment. We help affected students demonstrate transition, enhancing social, emotional skills.
Everyday life when my dad is deployed, I have to help out more at home with my mom, helping out with my 3 younger sisters.
When a parent is deployed, everyday life is definitely a lot more difficult, but I think that when they come home, it's just it makes it that much more special, like spending time with them.
Everyday life when your parent is deployed is hard. It's very hard, especially when you have 2 parents that are deployed at the same time. You have to be around aunts, uncles, cousins, and by me being an only child, it's hard to share my things. So I had to share my things with my cousins, and that's really hard for me because I'm always by myself. Majority of the time I'm by myself, but I learned to interact with other kids, be nice to other kids, share my things with other kids, and I feel like now I have a big heart. Both of my parents that were deployed are they're back in Virginia. Both of them work at Fort Belvoir. My mom actually retired and became a normal civilian. She works for the government now, but my dad still has to leave every so often to go to Middle Eastern countries all the time, so I barely ever see him. And right now he's going to miss graduation, so it's a lot to handle, but I've learned to get used to it. So.
Everyday life while your parent is deployed can be very, very difficult, especially if it's multiple deployments. Once my dad was gone, then both parents were gone, and it's hard to accept the fact that you have to teach yourself basically, how to help raise your siblings and things like that. Even though you have a guardian there, it's still hard. And you never know when you can talk to both of your parents. It's unexpected, you never know what can happen. And then the time change, so many hours difference, so you can be waking up and they're going to bed. So that's one of the difficulties about it.
I attended 1 elementary school in Georgia, 2 elementary schools in Florida, 3 in California, and 1 in Maryland. Middle school I attended in Maryland and Virginia, and high school I did freshman year in Chesapeake, Virginia, sophomore year in Washington, and my last 2 years of high school I did here at Potomac. I was a little overwhelmed because everyone was trying to tell me which school to go to, which was the best. Kept hearing a lot about Forest Park and Hilton and the programs they had there. But I ended up here. This is my zone school, and I enjoyed it here.
I definitely was really nervous moving to Prince William County Schools because there was a larger amount of students, significantly larger amount of students here than there was in overseas schools.
I was scared. Knowing about Prince William, it's a big county. There's a lot of schools and there's a lot of people, and most of the schools that I've been to have been smaller counties, smaller schools, smaller classrooms. Prince William County was kind of big, and it was harder for me to make friends here than any place else.
If I were to say a course that was difficult for me, it would probably be ACE Higher Math. Yeah.
My most difficult challenge as a student was chemistry. I'm glad you brought that up. It was chemistry. All of my life I've made A's and B's. My first C came from chemistry, my sophomore year.
My most difficult challenge as a student has been taking tests. It's hard for me to take tests. I'm not really a good test taker, but when I do take a test and I study and I prepare for it the correct way, I always ace it every time.
My most difficult challenge as a student would be balancing my academic studies and my social life, and I think that it's really good to have a balance, but sometimes it's hard to maintain that balance.
When I first moved here, I came in during the summer to meet my counselor, Miss Moore, and she helped me to get acquainted with the school and the people. She set me up with people who would potentially be in the same classes as me and have the same interests as me, and I got to meet them before school started so I could know people when I got here during the school year.
Well, Prince William County has helped welcome me and my family by my teachers. My freshman year, I had one teacher who went above and beyond, and her name was Miss Griffin. She was my 9th grade English teacher. She challenged me always, and my parents, loved the fact that I was getting a huge challenge, and it helped us because I knew that I was becoming more comfortable with a teacher. I was becoming more open. Mr. Roseborough was my 9th grade administrator. He's the one who actually signed me up for HCHY LEAD, which is Healthy Communities, Healthy Youth, Learning Essential Assets of Development Team, which is at the Hill with Miss Debbie Bishop and Miss Carolyn Custard. And with that program, with them, him seeing that the fact that I was very mature and responsible and offering me the opportunity was when I think that my relationship with Prince William County skyrocketed. It was an amazing opportunity to get the chance to be able to meet other students from other schools, different leadership conferences, and being able to speak publicly in front of a lot of people.
Prince William County welcomed me by putting me in a group of kids who are just like me. Kids who had just moved here and who had parents who have been deployed, military parents, and by them putting me with those group of students, I learned how other kids lived. I've learned kids who've been to Singapore, who've been to different places, and we got to talk about the places that we've been because we've had parents who have been deployed. So they welcomed me with open arms, and I really appreciate it.
Well, there are lots of activities that the school offers that my old schools didn't. There are lots of different clubs that people are able to join, and I think that especially the soccer program here, I felt welcomed when with the other girls that were also trying out. So I think the different clubs and organizations after school help students meet new people that are transitioning into the area. There are different programs in my school that can help students succeed academically, and an example would be chemistry tutoring after school by the AP chemistry students, and I think it's good to have a one-on-one experience with another student who's helping you learn more in the subject that you're struggling with. I think it would be really helpful if Prince William County Schools had a special introductory session with just military families who have moved into the area, and I think it would be good for students who have military parents who move around a lot to meet other students like that so that they can relate and meet people who are kind of doing the same thing that they are. I think military students have an extra challenge that we have to undergo other than academic studies, and I think that it's sometimes hard for teachers to know that right off the bat. I definitely think that sometimes it's just a little harder to focus on our studies, especially if a parent or loved one has been deployed. I like people to know that I'm really proud of my dad for doing what he does in the Air Force and for serving his country, and I think that it is really hard when loved ones are deployed, but I think it just makes you stronger, and it makes them stronger, and it makes time with them more valuable.